Hey, Facebook Live, what's going on? You are here at Weigh-In Wednesday, where we weigh in from 6 to 7 p.m. I am Alexis.
And I am Sherelle.
And together we are Endure. You guys, we are Endure. You guys know that every Wednesday we log in, we broadcast from 6 to 7 p.m., right? And we choose topics, and we have amazing guests who come on. And so right now we are in transition, you guys. God's doing a new thing, and we are super excited, but we definitely wanted to go online and keep our followers to let you guys know what's going on and where we're moving to within transition. So stay empowered, and today we're going to talk on focusing on God's promises, staying focused, right, with the meditation and the mind, how they all work together for us to stay focused.
Absolutely. And I think that the great thing about what God does, when he does start shifting and moving in our lives, because you are focused on the things that God has for you, it's easy to make that adjustment. And so a lot of times when we think of focusing, you know, we're just thinking of it focusing in just one little box. But God gives us the ability to focus on what the things that he wants us to do. And so it's the great thing about God shifting is he always shifts, and when he shifts, it's always to move you higher. And sometimes the shift is something that causes you to get out of your comfort zone, or maybe something that's in your comfort zone. But the great thing about God is that he equips you with all the things that you need in order to fulfill that focus or that purpose that he has for you. So we're excited about what God is doing for us, for the women of Enduro. We are definitely moving and moving and moving. And so we are ready, and we are so appreciative of all the guests that we had this month with Focus. Who do we have this month? We had CC Sutton, Simply Sutton. We had
and we had
the author,
Identity.
We haven't forgot about you, but we are definitely excited about all the guests that we had this month. Matter of fact, let me look, because I know we're missing some people, and we don't want to miss out anybody.
Yeah, and then we have to remember too that, you know, this month as we close out Focus, and staying focused also has to do with the mind, right? And being able to stay focused on the things God has called us to do. And if we read Psalms 119, verse 148, that reads, "My eyes stayed open through the watches of the night, that I may meditate on your promises." So that's basically, do you think on God's promises, and do you really think you can have them? Do you meditate on his promises, right? Are you thinking about the things he said that you can have being his child? There's some promises out there that we leave on the table that we have to go get, and God's waiting for us to go get his promises. So do you think on his promises, you guys? Do you think on his promises? And that's staying focused, right? And understanding what his promises are for your life, what they are, what he has called for you to do. And we have to do it. We have to really start having active faith, and not just faith, right? If we're focusing on our goals, God called us to do some things, and we're sitting back waiting for, people always say, I'm just waiting on God. No, God waiting on you.
Yeah, He's waiting
on you.
So
you need to, activate that faith and go do something. And again, the scripture says to meditate on his promises, right? Even in the night and during the day, do you meditate on the promises of God? If so, that too should be your motivation.
Absolutely. And one thing about meditation, Alexis, that I've found has worked for me is it has caused me to kind of be uncomfortable, right? Because I'm used to moving. I'm used to, like, I think about something and I keep moving, and I start doing all these different tasks. But when you do the meditation, it gives you, in the beginning, it's kind of uncomfortable because you have to sit, right? And I think that it's been so rewarding to me to do meditation, because it has caused me to focus on the things and the promises that God has for me.
Right.
And then it kind of separates you from the worldly things, because you kind of get in your little moment, and you can really, you don't have those distractions. So some things that I did was, I started off with saying, dedicate 30 minutes 30
Right.
minutes, to what God dedicates all his time to you, right? He dedicates all this energy to trying to make sure that you live and fulfill your purpose. And so us sacrificing 30 minutes a day just to sit down and just, sometimes you don't even have to say anything. Like
Right.
things will start coming to your mind and you'll start writing things down. And
Right.
you have to find what kind of meditation works for you. And so for me, I like to write. I like to hear different things, and I started doing things where I used to call you, and I would go out to the park, and I would sit, and I would like people watch. And so sometimes God talks to you through other people, right?
Yeah.
So I may see somebody do something, I'm like, oh my God, I wonder if that person is this, or oh, that reminds me that I need to, maybe that person may need some motivation. And so it starts giving me some other visions and clarity on some other things. And so I think when God says meditate on his word, just taking time to understand what he's trying to have you do. And when you do that meditation on his word, on his purpose, it gives you clarity. And sometimes clarity is what gets us off of track and focus, because
that's what we need.
Distractions, right? All the distractions. I remember someone telling me once that you don't have to answer the phone every time it calls. And so what I started doing, because I have a problem with answering the phone every time somebody calls, I would turn my phone off. And in that way I would spend that 30 minutes to kind of do stuff, and meditate. And so I just think that it's so powerful to be able to just sit for just a second and then allow God to kind of speak through you, through your spirit.
I think too, meditation is the one thing that Christians have made to be so complicated when it's really it's real simple when you think about it. Meditation is really you sitting down with your thoughts and focusing on those thoughts so clearly and what God has caused you to do. So I'm going to read what meditation means. Meditation simply means to engage in contemplation on reflection, to focus one's thoughts on, reflect or ponder over, to plan or project in the mind. So really you're just sitting with your own thoughts in your own mind, and then two, it's very good to meditate on God's promises and his words, something that's going to empower you, something that's going to cause you to get up and move and grind and hustle to go after what the things you say you want, right? And that's the one thing that even with being personal trainers is just that, people say they want this one thing, but they do something else, right? So if you say you want to get in shape, then you should meditate and already see yourself in the shape that you desire to be. Absolutely. And meditation is it's simply saying for you to sit still and see it before you see it, right? You have to really put those things into action. And it's when you can meditate and you think about your thoughts, right? So how many of you really sit down and spend time thinking about what you think about? Do you spend time with your thoughts? The word says to meditate, right? To meditate on the promises of God. I want all his promises. I'm coming for them. I'm coming after them. I'm spending time with them. Why? Because I know he has promised me to have an abundant life. And that's just not saying financially. That's saying physically, emotionally, intelligently, and financially, right? It's really in every area. And we always say that, God is all that. He's over everything. He has dominion over everything. And if we want that, we're his children. We have the same access, right? We have the same access. And it's our responsibility. It's our responsibility to really start taking back control over our minds and the things we put in our mind, what we feed our spirit that dictates our actions and dictates what we say. It dictates what we see in every area. I'm going to read this quick little insert here. It says, watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny. So who are you? Your character becomes your destiny. Who are you? How do people see you? Are you portraying or being just what God has called you to be?
Right. And I think that, as we talked about before, we talked about conquering our thoughts. We talked about managing your mind. We talked about taking action. And so a lot of times all those things, play a part in how God is calling us to fulfill, our purpose and who we're supposed to be.
Right.
And so like your pastor's saying is very true. When you start thinking something, and then your emotions start acting on what you're thinking or what you're feeling, and then you start acting on those things. And so I think that that is something that has to be done on a daily basis, right?
Absolutely.
So it's not something that people can say, well, you've said this before, or you've done this before. Like, we all, have these emotions, and when you have these emotions, you start feeling or thinking a certain way. And sometimes your emotions, you start feeling a way, and then you start thinking according to your emotions. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of backwards. It's not like you're thinking and then you're reacting off of what you're thinking. It's mostly you have this feeling. So if it's like you're angry, then you start thinking angry thoughts, and then you start acting on those things. And so that is definitely something that is a daily walk, you know. And I know that because life gives you this shifting, and life has its ups and downs. A lot of times your emotions kind of take over your thoughts. And so have you ever said or done something you're like, that's totally not me? Right? But because your emotions are taking over, it's hard to control your thoughts. And so I think that's why it's important to be able to sit back and recognize those things, because I think it's an issue when you don't recognize it. But when you can sit back and you can recognize those things and try to turn those negative thoughts into something positive and be able to readdress that feeling or that certain action, I think it's very powerful, because a lot of people don't have that. I think that self-evaluation, we've talked about before, is probably the hardest skill to have, right? Because it's hard to look at yourself and say, you know what, something is
self. What's going on?
You're looking at yourself. You're like, you really shouldn't be acting like that for whatever reason. And I think as we grow and as we become closer to God and we start having more clarity on where God is trying to take us, it's easier to recognize those feelings and try to make adjustments. Doesn't mean that they're always the right adjustments. Doesn't mean that they are always on time. The adjustments might be after the fact. But sometimes we have to just spend that time, with God and find out what kind of things that He's doing. I mean, even as we shifting now into something different. It's a feeling that you have to address, because a lot of times. Initially you might feel like, well, why are we shifting? Everything was great, and so now but see, when God shifts, sometimes I get excited about when God is shaking some things in my life. I had made a post earlier this week. I said when sometimes when God removes somebody out of your life, it's to bring people in. Right?
You got to make room.
You got to make room. He's got to make room for you. So I think that God does that a lot with you personally, professionally, emotionally. Sometimes He has to take you through some things emotionally just for you to get backtrack on where God is trying to take you, or what what love really means, or where's your focus really being. So I just think that when you can meditate on that word, it's your sign of communication with God, and just letting Him speak to you, and He can speak to you on that personal level. So
and that's the key thing is that when you spend time with yourself, and I always say that the most important thing in life is what you tell yourself about yourself, because you are with yourself all the time, and our mind constantly goes, and we have these thoughts and we have these conversations, and we're thinking 100 miles per hour, and it's our responsibility to slow down that thought process. And the word says for you to take those thoughts captive, right, and replace those thoughts with positive thoughts. And the only way that you'll be able to replace them with His word is if you know His word. And the only way you'll know His word is if you spend time with His word, because He says, we have to really be still and know that He is God. But how will you, if we're not being still to know, then what do you know to even think about, right? And His word, even here, it says on something that I highlighted, Again, we're reading Psalms 119 and 148. So simple but powerful. It says, "My eyes stay open through the watches of the night, that I may meditate on your promises." So what are you thinking on at nighttime when you're getting ready to go to bed? Right here, where are your thoughts at? What thoughts are you having? Are you being one thing I know, it's Women's Month, Women's Day, is we're so hard on ourselves. We're so critical on ourselves. We bash ourselves sometimes more than anyone else. And it's our responsibility to really take care of yourself and love yourself. Feed yourself positive thoughts this month, women, because it says that I may meditate on your promises. And God has some promises for his people that we definitely need to have. We need to listen to. Can y'all hear us out there, Facebook Live? Can you hear me? Excuse my voice today. But there's promises that he has for us, and it's our responsibility to get them, but we can't get them if our focus and our mind is always on something negative. It makes it that much harder for us to get back up with that confidence that we need to walk boldly and go after what he's called us to do. Mm-hmm. And when we can sit and meditate on his word, I promise when you get back up, you feel that much lighter. You feel like all the extra weight is gone off of you. And that's one thing that we focus on here, is losing weight God's way, right? We're losing weight God's way. So that means we're letting go of stress. We're letting go of shame. We're letting go of depression. We're letting go of all the insecurities God hasn't placed on us, that we've given ourselves, that we've taken on. And so it's really, really important that you read his word and understand his promises that he has for you, so you can go get them.
Right.
So that means go get them. That means you're going to have to get up and you're going to have to do something in order to get them.
Absolutely. And I think that as you talked about, you know, for us women, we're hard on ourselves, especially I know, like for me, we both did, you know, college sports, so a lot of times everything is like
one of my trainers on there back in the day.
Competition, you know. So it's like you want to do good, right? And you want to do good, and you want to succeed, and you want to accomplish these things. And sometimes, I know for me, just sitting and meditating on the things that God is asking me to do, it helps give you clarification on clarity on the purpose that He has for you. But it also helps you with securing some of those insecurities, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, a lot of our frustration comes from just distractions. It may come from shifting, may come from just an insecurity that you have, because I think that's what the devil does. You know, he's going to attack you at your spots that you're weakest
feeling
at.
Weak, right?
And so if he knows that if I can make you feel defeated, or I can make you feel depressed, or I can make you feel so angry that you just can't even focus on the things that God is asking you to do because you're so busy being mad. And I know that that has been a challenge for me, is not being able to have my emotions blur the things that God is asking me to do. Because once your emotions take over, it's like you're not even thinking about the purpose and things that God has asked you to do, because you're just being upset. And so I think that taking that time in meditation, and just sometimes just reminding yourself, you know, sometimes going back over, refreshing on what God has asked you to do once before. And one thing about, another thing that I love about the meditation and just getting closer to God is that his promises, his purpose is always promising, right? Everything that he has for us, you know that you're going to be rewarded once you get there. And so I just think that when we can meditate just on that, just meditate on whatever God you're asking me to do, we know that it's all good. And so I get so excited because I know that God constantly moves and shifts in my life. But every time he shifts and moves in my life, it's always for the better. It's always for an increase. And so I'm grateful for being able to have that relationship, right? I think through meditation, you build a relationship with God, right? So it's just like any relationship that you have. Once you spend more time with that person, you get to know that person, you get to understand that person. And so the more time you spend with him, you get to understand him, and then you get to understand you, because he created you, right? So now things that I may feel that are insecurities or weaknesses of mine, you know, God can bring forth and say, you know, you're no longer afraid of these things, or you should no longer feel lonely, or you should no longer feel stressed, or you should no longer feel depressed, because he clarifies those things and makes you feel comfort once you have that time with him. And I think that as much time as he spends with our raggedy lives, as much time as he spends with our raggedy lives, I think that we can all find some time to dedicate to him that's not causing us to move. You know, to doing the sitting and just allowing him to move in your life, you know, mentally.
Yeah, because everyone's so busy now. Even myself, we always say we got so much time to do. But the one thing that I learned is time will become whenever you're doing what's important for you. And that's saying time will make time when it's important for you. Yeah. And God's word and what he has for me in my life, how important is that to you that you want to make time for it? And here it says, to meditate simply implies to have a definite focusing of one's thoughts on something as to understand it deeply. So for you to meditate on it, this simply means for you to get better understanding deeply, knowing what his word means for you in your life. What his word may mean for her in her life is totally different from what it means for me in my life, because we're all walking our separate lives, our separate paths. But you have to remember that when you're meditating and you're spending time with God, be specific with him. Ask him to show you. Ask him for that unusual clarity that you need. I know that, you know, it's hard to stay focused on the things God's called you to do when it seems like when you are focused, things keep happening. Right? Whether it's you get a flat tire when you're on your way to work, right?
Or whether it was just me.
Or whether you're focused and then, you know, something in your family happens and then you have to lose focus for a little bit and get off track. But the one thing that doesn't change is you knowing where you're going, the destination. The destination hadn't changed. Just your path getting there may get a little swervy, right? May get a little curves, but it's your responsibility to get back on track. I think so much now we place blame on people, which is why we lose our focus, because so-and-so called me, because so-and-so did this. No, you lost focus because you lost the ability to get back on track, right? It's your responsibility. This is your purpose. This is your destiny. This is your calling, and you have to take full responsibility. One thing my dad's always saying is you don't give no one else that much right to your life, to your access. You allow certain people, and so if you lose focus and you lose meditation direction, you really have to go back and do that self-evaluation, self-talk, and sit with his word, on his word. And he says that he's delighted when we spend time with him, we meditate on his word. One of the scriptures, I think it's Psalm 16, where'd it go? Yep, Psalms 19 and 14, it says, may the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. So he's saying even in that, he gets delight in us meditating on his word. So we have some what do they call it, ammunition to pull from. What are you pulling from? Do you have anything? What we say, what you feed longest becomes strong. Do you have anything in your pocket? So whenever it's time to shoot, when the devil come, what you gonna shoot it with, blanks? Like what you got in your pocket? What you been feeding yourself, right?
Absolutely. And I also think that, we talked about before, we have to learn to tap into our source,
Yeah.
and God has the power. Like, he changes everything. I know for every person or everything that has tried to block any blessings I've had has always been defeated. And so I know that. And sometimes I can sit back and laugh at certain situations in my life because I've seen him do it.
Yeah.
And I know that he'll do it again. But when we talk about, getting stronger, right? It's hard to get, it's to me, it's
Yeah.
hard to get stronger when you're already on top, right? When
Yeah.
when you're already all the way up, it's hard to get,
All the way up. I'm
it's
just
hard,
saying.
see, that's what I'm talking about. It's harder to, become stronger.
That's a
And
lot.
sometimes it's
That's a
through
lot.
those challenges and through those distractions. And sometimes God has to bring us back down to reality.
Yes,
To say,
Lord.
okay, let me bring you back and let you know who's in control of these things. And so it may be some things that he's shifting in your life so that he can see what you're going to do, how you're going to handle the situation. Are you going to give up on me, or are you going to continue to working in the promises that I have for you? Are you going to start doing some things that I've asked you to do before but that you didn't have time to do? And now that I'm freeing up your schedule to do some things, now I'm opening up your mind to do something different.
Right.
And I know that for me, what's been exciting is I know I was pushing a lot, my personal training, and I still love personal training. But what God did when he started clearing my schedule out, it started allowing me to start getting some other things done that I have been putting off. And so I think that as we start shifting and as we start moving, when the enemy comes to attack,
Because he's coming.
he's coming. And when he
Plus
comes to attack, he attacks us emotionally. He attacks us financially. He attacks us in all the things that we feel are important to us. And so I think that when we can recognize those things and still be able to sit and meditate, I think prayer is more powerful to me when you're in a storm. It's easy to thank God for the new car. Oh, I thank God for this. I thank God for all these things that you have. But when's the last time you thanked God for something that he didn't do? When's the last time you thank God for a storm?
What he kept you from and you didn't even know.
Right. So I just feel like when I'm in a storm is when my faith gets stronger, and I pray more because I know that God is going to move and shift some things in my life. And so again, going back to just staying focused, what are some things that God is asking you to do? What are some things that somebody asked me this week? They said, well, how do you know where God is trying to take you? And I said, because a lot of times where he's trying to take you is going to be outside your comfort zone. It's going to cause you to do some things that are not comfortable. Like personal training, I can train with my eyes closed because I know the body, but there's some things that I have to, motivate myself to do or encourage myself to do because it's out of my comfort zone. But because I know it's for him, I'm able to fulfill those things. But when we be able to sit and give that sacrifice and do your meditation, we meditate on all these other things and we stay focused on all these other things. And people always say they don't have time, but we can make time.
Right, yeah.
You make time
Yeah.
for what you want. And so
No, that's so true. And that's the one thing is that you already meditate and you don't even know it, right? You're driving and you're thinking, your mind's constantly going, and so you're meditating on thoughts already that you probably shouldn't even be thinking about. So just imagine how your life could be even that much better if you just meditate on his words, on what he's called you to be, not even on what he's called you, what he says you are. You're his child, you're his princess, you're his king, like you're all these things, right? And so do you think on those things? Because even just thinking on being his child, being the head, not the tail, being above and not beneath, those things alone should empower you and motivate you itself to get up and get moving and to stay focused. And one of the things in order to stay focused is to really try of all the efforts that you make, all the decisions that you make, all those should align and what God's called you to do. Is that your main focus, what he's called you to do? And you need to ask God again for unusual clarity regarding your purpose and your plan on what he has for you in your life, right? And the only way to even feel at peace, I guess you can say that peace that surpasses all understanding, is when you spend time with him. When you spend time with him and things start happening as you're on your way to your destiny, to your destination, things are going to happen that may rock you as you're going. But because you have spent time in his word and you have something down in your spirit, that peace will still be there as you're on your way to your destination, only if you spend time with him right now. And so if you're in that downtime right now, you're in that down season or low valley, whatever you want to call it, this is your time right now to focus and meditate on him, to get stronger. So whenever he does pull you back up, because he will, right? I'm a living witness. We're witnesses that he will do just that. But it's when you get back up, how will you handle it then? Will you be, the same person who's easy to fall as the time before, or are you spending that time right now getting rooted and planted in his word to where now you become unmovable, unshakable, because your faith has gotten so strong in him that you can do anything with him.
Absolutely. And I think that a lot of times people think when they're talking about meditation, I know what was so comforting to me is that I can speak to God how I want to speak to him.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes people think you have to be like, and according to, you got to read all these long. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. It's your personal relationship that you have with him. So how you speak, you can go to God crying. You can go to God, rehearsing a script. You can go to God crying. You can go to God happy. You can go to God. You can go to him because he knows you.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think that, as I know for me, I like to listen to his word, right? So from me reading, I can read something and I'm like, I don't know what's going on right now, but I can read and then listen.
Yeah.
And then I can read and I can listen, and that's what helps give me clarity. So we have to try to find ways that, how does meditation work with you? How does, what type of meditation can you do that brings you closer to God? Because so I know people that can sit and they can read the word and that's okay for them. They feel fulfilled like that, but I don't. And so for me, I have to find what works for me. What works for me is going to Walmart parking lot and not going to Walmart, but just sitting in the car and putting in my music or putting in
literally
my
she
auto.
does, y'all.
And I do, for real. And she think I'm crazy, but that's what works for me.
I know.
She do, but that's what works for me. And so a lot of times, we get so caught up on trying to find out how other people are doing things, but you can seek him and he would tell you how he wants you to communicate with him. Sometimes he communicates to you through other people. I've been places where someone comes to me out of the blue and say, God placed it on my heart to tell you this, and it has been right on point. It has been people that I've never spent 2 days or a day or even an hour with that has come to my life for that second to deliver a word to me. So God speaks to you in all different ways, but just being able to sit and meditate and just seek him. And what I do at night is when I sit and I seek him and I just meditate on his word and I don't try not to think about anything else, he speaks to me, and then I start having this sense of peace. And then I'm asleep. Which is great.
Which is good, right? Sleep is good for the body. It's good for the soul. And that's the one thing that we lack, even myself at times, is rest. Only because we, and we have to ask God at that time to really give you a peaceful mindset, right? To calm your nerves, calm your anxiety, whatever you're feeling, in order to get rest, just and knowing that whatever it is for the next day or tomorrow, he's already taken care of that, right? And when you're spending time with him and you're meditating on his word and on his promises, and he's already given us his promises, then we know that they're going to come to pass when we're walking with him. We said last week, what's the one thing you would do if you already knew you were victorious? And he said you're victorious.
What's one thing you would do?
But he's waiting on you. He's waiting on you to get there, right? Because it's our the relationship you have with God, it goes two ways, right? He's always there, and we're always calling on him. We're always asking God to do things, but God's calling on you, and he's wanting that intimate relationship with you, right? Why wouldn't you want to spend time with someone who's always there for you, right?
Absolutely.
He's always there for you. His grace and his mercy is everlasting. But yet we don't want to spend no time with them, and then we wonder why the attitude's the way it is, why we respond to people the way we do, why we, our language is the way it is, because there are certain things. That's why it says even with the five senses, they're all so important to the mind. They're all so important to your thought process and how you focus. When you see the TV, how much time you spend watching the Real Housewives
I don't watch
or hip hop? How much time, right? Your attitude is going to dictate that. It's going to show one way or another. In your words, what are you speaking? In your ears, what are you listening to? All these things that we take for granted and we act like it doesn't mean anything. It does. It feeds into your spirit, and you don't even know it until something happens and you flip out, and then you wonder, that wasn't even me. I don't even. That wasn't even me. I don't even know that person. No, that was you.
That was you.
That was you.
And and again, when we talk about God's promises that he has for us, and having that relationship with him, I mean, how many times can you do something and God just continues, he forgives you, he still gives you comfort, his promises don't change,
right?
His promises that he has for you. So his relationship with him is not like a relationship that you have with people, right? People cut you off, they don't want to be bothered with you, they block you, they put you on the do not disturb list,
disturb,
they unfriend you on Facebook when they get mad at you. But God doesn't, right? And so it's comforting to know that we can always go and seek him. But we shouldn't only seek him when you're going through something, right? Seek him when you're not going through something. Seek him just because you want to spend a little bit of time with him, and it doesn't have to always be this big old show, and it doesn't have to be for 3, 4, 5 hours. You spend what amount of time that you want to spend with him until you feel that you're fulfilled. So it may be 30 minutes. I know I've done 30 minutes before, and I've cried for the whole 30 minutes. I've told you before, I've ran laps in my building, in my apartment, back and forth until I felt exhausted. So whatever, what happens is when you start to seek him and you start building that relationship with him, you'll start doing some things that you don't even realize you're doing. Right? You'll start feeling some kind of way that you've never felt before. And so I talked about that restless spirit, last time, and that my restless spirit comes from when I'm off track. My restless, because now when I'm laying down, I'm thinking about what I should have did or I shouldn't have done, or I should have, could have, would have, probably shouldn't have, would have, or whatever. But when I'm able to seek and spend time with him, it gives you that peace and it gives you that rest, because you know that whatever he's asking you to do, he's already taken care of. And so I just love just that power of meditation. I know that some people do yoga,
and that's something too that I think,
because I can't really touch
but
my
you have
toe.
to really try, you guys. I challenge you guys to go to yoga this week. Just try it. You may like it. It's not even, and there's some things that we, in our mind, we have this mindset that it's going to be hard, that, we don't do that type of stuff. Yes, we do. And
we need to.
And then it's relaxing for the body and the mind. I was going to say something that was a lie about the mindset. What did you just say? Dang it slipped. But for you to stay focused on that, right? Because it starts with our thoughts, your mindset. I have on here that a great day begins with a great mindset, right? A great day begins with a great mindset. When you get up in the morning, how's your mindset? What are you thinking about? What's the first thought do you have, right? And spending time with God, you get and you gain a different kind of strength and a different kind of courage, right? And when you spend time with God, you'll develop this relationship with him in yourself that's unstoppable. And whatever, that's what I was going to say, and whatever fear that you have, whatever you're facing or either afraid to face, when you spend time with him, I promise you, he'll give you the strength and the courage that you need in order to overcome that, because God's fearless. He's not afraid, right? And when you're walking in his strength and his boldness, you won't be afraid either, because he's with you. And knowing that he's with you, that in itself is going to motivate you. People ask all the time, how do you constantly do that? That is how I constantly face my fear every day, is because I spend time with him daily. Because I know that I need courage and strength. I know that I can't do it by myself.
Right.
And I have to do, even to do it right here, that I have to do that. But the only reason that I do it is because I spend time with him. So I know that with him and my efforts together, we tag teaming. We slam dunking. Okay, Kobe. I mean, somebody.
Look at Kobe. So yeah,
LeBron or Splash Brothers or something.
Dwayne Wade, don't call them like that, unless they want to start being our sponsors. But but I do feel that when you talked about spending that time with God and getting that clarity, what I know for me, what has helped a lot when I'm meditating is just, as a woman, it's helped me to become comfortable with me. You know, becoming comfortable with being with me.
Yeah.
You know, because I think a lot of times as women, we start feeling the loneliness, the this and the that. Especially when you're a single woman, you want to go and do things, but when you're okay with sitting and meditating, you start becoming okay with you. You start becoming like, you know what, I kind of like myself. I kind of like to take a bath and sit and just meditate and just don't have to worry about answering to nobody and doing what I want to do. If I want to sleep, if I want to stay up, and so the more I seek him, the more comfortable I start feeling with me. And then that becomes my confidence, because then I start knowing who I am, and that people can't tell me who I am or what they think of me, because I spending that time with him and I'm seeking him and I'm having understanding with him and meditating and spending that time with him, that he's telling me who I am.
He's telling you who you are. You don't got to ask nobody else.
Ask nobody else, because he's already told you who you are. And so at night, recently I've been feeling like God is just really telling me just to be confident. To be confident. Right. When you walk into places, be confident. Hold your head up. What you holding your head down for? Put your head up.
My grandma used to always say, walk with your head up like you know where you're going. You belong there. Walk with your head up.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of times, I know that even when I was younger, I used to come off as this very confident girl, but I wasn't confident at all. But I had too much pride to let other people know that I wasn't confident. Yeah. But when you can actually feel,
different.
It really is different.
Different.
And so the more time I spend with God, the more confident I'm becoming. The more time I'm spending with him, the stronger I'm becoming. Right. And people always ask me, I can't believe, how do you go through this? I can't believe you went through this and you're doing this and you're doing that. But God is still good. And through my entire storm of my life, through everything that I've been through, just in these last couple years, I've just looked so much better. Yeah. I've felt so much better. And it's not because I'm happy about my situation. It's because God has given me peace. Yeah. Because he's kept me focused on some things, and he's placed me in some positions and situations that are outside of my comfort zone, but they have been promising and they have been rewarding. And so I thank God for just allowing me to become that woman and to be strong in my storm, because storms are made to break you. Yeah. Situations are made to break you. And so when he comes to attack, and the enemy comes to attack you, he's going to come at things that matters to you. If you're a person that only thinks about money, well, guess what? That's probably the first thing he's going to hit up is money when he attacks you. If you're a person that is into image, then most of the time something's going to happen that's going to affect your image, Right. And so that's how he attacks. He attacks us at places that we know that we're the weakest. But when he can still Stay focused and meditate on God's word and know that what He says is promising. But you only know the promises He has for you if you spend time with Him.
Spend time.
So spend time with Him. Meditate. Some people use yoga. Some people walk. Some people sit in cars. Some people go to closets. Whatever you need to do, spend time with Him. So that you can get clarity on the purpose that He has for you.
Yeah, and we have to remember. We said even last week is when you're in relationship with someone, you're always wondering. I wonder if they're thinking about me. I wonder if they care. God cares. He's thinking about you, right? He's already said that. He's thinking about you all the time, more than the sand, than the grains in the sand, right? How much is that? He cares, and that was in Psalms 139 from last week. He thinks about you and He cares about you more than the grains in the sand. You guys, how much grain in the sand in the earth is there out there?
Can't even count
So just thinking, imagine if someone's thinking about you that much and they're focused and concerned about you in your life that much. Why wouldn't you want to spend time with Him?
Why wouldn't you want to spend time with Him?
Right? Or even learn what He's called you to do, right? And even get strength and courage and boldness, because you're going to need all that. Because one thing that I truly believe is that when you walk with God is you're moving from glory to glory, and that means that you're going to be attacked on each level you get to. It may be a different kind of attack, but the good thing for us to know is that if we've handled one attack, we can handle another one, because He's with us in each journey. He's there. He's never leaving the side, but it's our responsibility to just to make sure and know that we are cultivating that relationship with Him. We're spending time with Him. We're learning Him. We're learning how God speaks to us. How He speaks to me, how He speaks to her, it's totally different, right? And so you have to develop that one-on-one quality time when you fall deeper in love with God and who He has called you to be. It's when you fall so in love with His promises that He has for you, that when you love somebody and you ain't gonna let nobody talk about your man, you ain't gonna let nobody do all that, right? You need to shut it down, right, kid? Shut it down. So you want to fall that much in love with Him, in yourself, right? In your confidence. And it's greater is He that's within you than he that's within the world. So it's within you, and your your worth and who God has called you to be, all that starts from within. That's deep. You have to do the inside work, and then in order to do that, we have to meditate and stay focused, right? Focus. People just lose focus. We're easily distracted. There's things come at us which never wait, but we have to stay focused on who God's called us to be.
Yeah. And so again, as we talked about focus last month, and we're going to be going into meditation, just staying encouraged, and know that God is doing some shifting in your life, and He's going to shift you into some things. He's going to shift you out of some things. And so just be confident in who He is and His promises that He has for our life, and know that as long as you stay rooted, and as long as you stay focused on you threw me off when you did that. As long as you stay focused on His word, and we talked about before, you don't have to know the Bible from the front to the back, but what you can do is, it's easy to type in something, feeling sad.
Right.
Maybe a trillion, billion, trillion, scriptures that come up about being sad. And as you start reading, and you'll start saying, you know what, I do feel like that. Or, okay, so God is saying, do not be anxious.
Yes.
Do not be courageous, be strong, be confident, slay the wicked. All those things that He tells us, it's already there. We just have to learn to tap into the source. And so again, we thank you for all our guests that we had this month, and the guests that we have coming next month. We're in March right now, but for meditation, because we have to learn. I know as our culture, we have this hustle mentality, and so in that hustle mentality is work, 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 work. And so in that working, which I think is still a great skill or ability to have, it
we need money. We need money.
Still need to work. Okay, so but still take time for you and take time for him and spend that time meditating, because God, some things that he may ask you to do right now may not be make all the money that you want to make, but God's promises for your life is always rewarding, and so you're going to get double for whatever he asks you to do anyways. So just stay truthful to what he's saying, and surround yourself around people that also believe in his word, and you know, focus on just what he's asking you to do. And so what I've learned is, as long as you stay focused on that, he will align everything else, and everybody that he brings into your life will be there to help that purpose, or will be there to help remind you of your purpose, or get you back on track, or whatever. Everyone and everything in your life is there for a reason, for a season. So just learn from those things, stay focused, meditate on the word, and find out what works for you in your meditation time.
That is true, you guys, and we have to remember that to focus on him and not on them, right? That's the key. That's the key to our success in getting to our purpose and plan to the destination. Is to focus on him and not them. When we take our eyes off him is when we lose focus, right? If we keep our eyes on him, right, then there's no, no ceiling, no glass ceiling to where we can go, right, with God, right? Because he's all the way up there, right? He's all the way up, right? I'm trying to go all the way up too. Y'all trying to go all the way up? I'm trying to go all the way up, right?
You're like in a rapping mood today.
So I know, right? I'm trying to go all the way up from glory to glory, but y'all can come. Y'all can come too. Y'all can come too, right? But you have to stay focused on him, right? On him and not them. Then we'll get there, you guys. So we will see you guys weighing in. Keep us in your prayers as well as we make our transition, because God's doing a great new thing in our lives as we continue this walk and this broadcasting and this radio and everything else. Keep us encouraged and uplifted. And we will see you guys.
Thank you for your support.
Yes, thank you to all of our fans, Facebook Live, family, friends. We love you guys. Thank you for your support. It really helps us keep going, even when we don't feel it. We still keep going for you guys. So thank you for your support, encouraging words, all that good stuff.
And you can always find us on Endure Women at Gmail. We are here. We are live. We're excited. We also come to schools. If you have a group of young ladies that you would like to come speak to, we would love to. We adapt, okay? So don't think, we just talk to this person. We can talk to boys. We talk to girls. We can talk to whoever. We can talk to the church folk. We can talk to the people in the streets. So we are very adaptable, and we are flexible. And we really want God to use us and use the gifts that we have for our young women, because it is time for us to just get right, and it's time for us to get back focused on the things that are promising and rewarding. So again, if you know a group of girls, high school, middle school girls that you feel need a little bit of guidance, please send us an email at Endure Women. We'll come out, we'll come to you, we'll talk to them, we'll have a conference, we'll have a workshop. We are there for women. If you have a group of women and we just need to get it together physically, spiritually, and emotionally, we do that too. So please just reach out to us at endurewomen@gmail.com.
We'll see you guys next week, where we weigh in each and every Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. I'm Alexis.
And I'm Sherelle.
And together we are Endure. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Have a good one.